Hello, Blaine Ziglar here with Kind Productions, and of course I want to tell you all about my new album, Isosceles, The Gatekeeper. Now this album features many of the great songs that I'm known for. Of course, you know, we have Not at Home, Bank of America, Si Me Singa Choto, which my friend and fellow songwriter Danny Dix helped me out with that one. You know, we were playing horseshoes and somebody said, "I got the weight of the world on my shoulders." And then somebody else chimed in and said, "Hey, plus a monkey on your back." So that's how I got that title. Anyway, there are some new songs also. We have The Gate to the Root of the World. It was taken from an ancient Chinese proverb from the Tao Te Ching. Lao Tzu was the actual author of that. And I put music to it and I suppose a certain rhythm, and in addition to that, I actually took out the very last 4 lines, stanza, I'm not sure. Just in time, of course, that's about my daughter. Can't really go more into it than that. That need is very interesting. Blah, 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 blah. It's a project that I planned on having out and done with by the arrival of my daughter, who was born April '09. But you can't rush things, I soon found out, and the reason I thought it might go faster than it did was because I wanted to record a raw album. But you see, since I was the artist, producer, and engineer, so to speak, you start critiquing yourself a whole lot. Of course, there's one song called That Need, and it is a purely instrumental song. It's actually derived from this song we had in the Phantom Vibrations called The Man Who Said West. So there was a final chorus, some type of a part for it, and it said, "Satisfy that need for just a little while. How all of my friends, they're losing touch." And it was basically just about addiction. So there is a certain story that evolves around here. Basically, you know, it begins with Cries of the Blind. This is a song, if anyone's ever been unfaithful and not proud of it, then this is a song that you might be able to relate to. You know, in the heat of the moment, when our ideas are completely turned upside down from what we're used to. You know, sometimes when we're intoxicated. There are a lot of things to regret in life, but I don't believe in regretting. I just believe in learning from. And that's one thing that music helps me do. Cries of the Blind, I cannot go into it anymore as far as explaining it to you. It should explain itself. Not at Home. It has to do with that internal battle between good and evil. Of course, it begins with Satan called me on the telephone trying to tell me not to come back home. And then, of course, some of the last lines, which is the last verse, God calls me when I'm not at home, trying to beg me not to be alone. It's that dualistic battle, or that dualistic approach to thought, that I seem to always take a liking to. After that, you know, to lighten up the mood, we have the Ballad of Dilboni. Now this song really isn't a ballad at all. It's actually a tune I wrote about 5 years ago. It and Bank of America are both oldie but goldies. Ballad of Del Boney is a fictitious story about several things. I'll let it explain itself. It really needs to paint its own picture. Bank of America. Now, this is in no way associated with the Bank of America, but it is associated with America because that is where I'm from. So, it really has to do with the greed and the economic agenda which places its purpose over family lifestyles and maybe the bartering type of way of living. You know, it's all about status, it seems. And Bank of America is just a song that I really rely on, and I I am very proud of it, honestly. Campfire shows. Now, this is a very interesting song. I was at my friend's house, basically my friend Shane Cardwell, who passed away, in 2006, August 2006. Since he had passed away, his birthday's in December, you see. And we were all over at his house. I lived there. And his family is very hospitable to me. Very nice. Took me in. And I was looking at the campfire and everybody was talking. And I had just broken up with my girlfriend at the time, so I was feeling, lonely, and I was analyzing that. I was thinking, what does this all mean? So I just started writing down thoughts on a piece of paper, It was kind of like realizations, but it was not intended to be a song. And the reason I say is because I didn't write it to rhyme or anything. That's just the way it came out. And by the time it was all finished, I picked up the guitar and it seemed like my hands just went to the actual chords. And to this day, I thank God for that. Thank God for that song, because there's a lot of truth that comes to that song that I'm still learning from. Spirals. It has to do with the way that the world is going nowadays. It relies or surrounds itself around a hypothesized scenario, what the future could be like with the present administration pressing the buttons. Simasen Gachoto has to do with the lighter side of drugs, which would be smoking weed. And it's all about, us as normal people, especially the ones who have been around, illegal substances, however that goes. What do you do to cope? What do you do to cope with life at times? And that's really what it's about, You can't live in the past. You got to live in the present. So you got to make the best of the present. This song, unfortunately, is from experience. Tranced out at the memories, but you can't go back. You'll never go back. I've been so washed away at discoveries that leave me flat on my back, singing, I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders, plus this monkey on my back. If I get too high, I just might have to sleep through the attack. And that is definitely a lighthearted approach to it. But there's a deeper way of looking at it as well. Now, that right there is something that caused me a lot of trouble with relationships, especially certain ones who would blame everything that you did on, smoking a joint or smoking a blunt. So that's what Eve is about. Eve is about the vindictive nature that a woman can have, and it really goes far, far away from what my actual, consistent views on women are. But at the same time, it is a part of, when you're hurt, when you're so down and out, so miserable about the bad things that a woman's done to you, and instead of her leaving you alone and letting you heal, she'll keep at it, you know, like picking at a sore. That Need. The song was derived from this old Phantom Vibrations song, which we've yet to release, called The Man Who Said West. And the actual lines from The Man Who Said West is, well, the man who said west, tell me what did he mean? Was he the same who said east was the other way to see? Now when we talk, we believe we're right, and walking gives appetite for more. So I always loved that song because the way that it just tugged at you, the truth and the honesty that came through it. You know, it's no way that you could deny that, and it really is an issue that kind of just draws me out of it as well. How how am I right about what I'm saying even, you know? It all has to do with labels and categories that we place things in that have to do with good experiences or bad experiences that we may or may not have had. After that, of course, That Need is complete instrumental. Dave Wolfeck from Carolina Brass actually joined me on that song, in addition with Spirals, and just added to the atmosphere so much. I definitely couldn't have did it without him. I also played keyboard on that song, and glass harmonica as a sound as well. For number 11, The Gate to the Root of the World. Now, this was taken from an old Chinese proverb. It was a scripture it was a chapter from Tao Te Ching, and it was written by Lao Tzu. And it's something that I felt the presence of God when I was reading it. It's such a deeply thought-provoking premise that happens with those words. There are ways, but the way is uncharted. There are names, but not nature in words. Nameless indeed is the source of creation. But things have a mother, and she has a name. The secret waits for the insight of eyes unclouded by longing. Those who are bound by desire see only the outward container. This is the gate to the root of the world. And I'm very thankful that I was able to write music that would just fall into place, and you know, it seemed to have made it its own. Now, A Journey to Hope, I wrote around the time that I wrote Campfire Shows, and that song deals with making God your foundation, because the foundation that you build your house upon is the most important thing, and you want to make sure that it's solid and it's going to stand the test of time. God is the one being that I rely on when everything else has failed, you know? And I really believe that we should rely on God when everything hasn't failed. It's a work in progress for me. I suppose it's a work in progress for all of us. Isosceles, the Gatekeeper. Go out and buy it. This has been Blaine Ziglar talking to you. And if there's any questions, please email or just give me a telephone call if you know my phone number. You have a great day. And God bless.